And the more we pawn off our humanity, we will be reduced. You are training an AI to be a real intelligence. We're working so hard to make artificial real. So much so that we are technically renting out our humanity to them. What makes us human is what makes us special. Intuition, ability to create, ability to feel, ability to have a consciousness. Sometimes our evolution, to be the fittest, you have to do stuff that is illegal. That sometimes perhaps it's a much better option.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Human Exchange, or THX for short. My name is John. THX is a platform where I like to discuss all things performance, potential, and purpose in a real, raw, and relevant way. As I always say at THX, I'm not just interested in engaging with experts, but also humans. But in today's episode, I have both an expert and a human, well, in my opinion at least, I think, to talk to us about this thing called the skills economy. The whole idea around that is, as we move forward in the digital age, and actually we're past the digital age, now we're in the age of AI, and it's the way a person or a talent employee is measured is through skills and through the type of skill sets that they bring to an organization. So we want to talk a little bit about the skills economy. And I've got Fong Tuan, or FT as he's affectionately known. He's a very seasoned human capital leader, currently working in one of the major financial institutions in Malaysia. But I'll let him do most of the introduction because I think only he can do himself justice. But first and foremost, FT, thank you so much for taking the time to be here at THX.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I think this has been long coming. I apologize that I couldn't be here earlier, but here I am. Let's see what we can distill from the conversation this afternoon.
Absolutely. FT, maybe before we begin, tell us and the audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and maybe some of your areas of interest.
Okay. Nothing spectacular. I came from a middle-income, small little town in Negeri Sembilan, a little village called Kuala Pilah. Hardly anybody knows it. But if you study geography, you probably realize or recognize that in the books, it's known to be the driest place in the country.
Okay.
Apart from that, there is nothing spectacular to shout about. Both my parents were teachers, and primarily a lot of my family was from education, which is also why I stumble into HR, which is as close to an educator as I possibly can in the corporate setting. I'm an engineer by training. I was a Tenaga scholar. That kind of put me into a position that I wouldn't be in if I did not get the scholarship. So I went to school in England. I came back, worked for them, and then I moved on in my career. I started my career as an engineer. I trained as an electrical engineer, trained as a professional engineer as well, but I did not continue in that path. So I was thrown accidentally into HR, hated it at the beginning. As you can imagine 20 years ago in HR, where the three things that HR did at that time were just hiring, firing, and paying people. That's all they did.
Yeah.
Well, that three realities are still what we do.
Yeah.
It's just that now it's a lot more diverse. And those three are what we call, entry ticket, hygiene, right? So over the years, I've been to multiple different industries, from telco to FMCG to healthcare to conglomerate, etc. Most of it in HR. And I kind of enjoy what I'm doing. I don't enjoy all of it, to be very fair, not all of it. There are certain things that I still don't enjoy. Firing people, I don't enjoy it, although that comes with the job. And if you ask me what was the most difficult stuff that I have to do is always firing people, despite whatever circumstances that got the person fired, regardless, right? And that's where the human comes into the resource, or with the resource, is that person needs to go home and tell that he or she was fired to their parents, to their spouses, to their kids, and the lives of their family will be affected. Sometimes because of their fault of their own, or sometimes it's not. Regardless, to me, that is the most challenging part of my job that I don't enjoy doing. And if I can avoid it, I will. But it comes with the turf, I guess. What else is interesting about me is I enjoy writing, like you. I enjoy doing some other more adrenaline pumping stuff that the mundanes of work sometimes can kind of make you immune, or worse, make you less sensitive to what human emotions are. Interestingly, as HR, almost like doctors, you need to be able to take and move on from stuff. And those stuff, or you can almost imagine like a doctor, if you're unable to save a patient, and if that affects you, you shouldn't be a doctor. Or in HR, if you cannot get past certain things that you have to do because of the profession, then you shouldn't be in the profession. So my escape, some of this diving, riding fast bikes, among others.
Wow, great. HR is like a special skill set on its own, isn't it? Or I would say an underrated skill set, because it's not uncommon where we find people who find themselves suddenly or accidentally ending up in HR, right? Or it's almost kind of like an add-on. It's like, hey, you're doing this. Okay, we need somebody to take care of HR. Can you take care of that as well? But when we view it in that kind of lens, I think we miss the kind of strategic importance that the HR function can actually bring to a business. Because like you mentioned, right, the human part, it's very much intertwined with the resource part, and understanding human behavior, human psyche is a key to motivating them and to getting them to develop. So yeah, we should, advocate for more You're already, in my opinion, a very strong advocate for HR. You're doing a good job in it, but I just wanted to throw that in. HR as a strategic function and not as a back end or supporting kind of thing. Do you see that more and more happening in our landscape in Malaysia, or do you think it's still people still view HR from a traditional point of view, like hiring, firing, and paying?
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I want to take a moment from our conversation to tell you that this episode is actually sponsored by our partners Elio, a 100% natural hair, body and skincare product. Now, if you struggle with dry and sensitive skin, this product is a great alternative to steroids. Right here, I've got the Aleppo soap, something that I've tried before. It's only made out of 4 ingredients, whereas a regular soap is made out of like 10 to 15 or something like that. And then on my right, I have this argan oil. So what you do is you use a soap that can be applied as a shampoo or even a face mask or even on your hair. And after you do that for cleansing, you apply this oil here to moisturize and rejuvenate. Now, these products can be found at over 200 Watson stores, or you can go onto their online store, Elio online store. And if you were to buy from them directly at their online store, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't see any results within 1 month of your purchase, you can get a full refund. Now, back to the episode.
Well, recently I was in HR Tech in Singapore, and on the sidelines I was interviewed. And somebody asked me, in the interview, what is the greatest challenge of HR? I think there are a few. The first one is, do we want to build HR into something different? How are we viewed by boards and top management? by and large, I can probably split HR into a few categories, right? Category one is you just need people to do whatever to pay people, to ensure that all the compliance stuff is done, paying EPF, paying taxes and stuff. And generally, those are kind of crewed by 2-3 people in a small sole proprietorship or single berhad. That's all they need. And then you have these growing SMEs, small medium enterprises, that wants to do more, but not willing to push too hard because people are an investment. You need to invest.
Yeah.
You can't just say, HR is our greatest asset and then don't do anything about it. So that is probably more pertinent in our discussion today is how do we move them to the next level? And then you have the organizations that I generally work for and work with, even currently, right? Big. The agenda is strong and they have a very definite view about what HR is, strategic, a partner, etc., etc. However, in all 3 genres, 3 archetypes of HR people are still trapped in this paradigm. We are obsessed with compliance. We are obsessed with governance. We are obsessed with processes. We are obsessed with policies. Because we think that's our job. Yes, those are our job. Even if you are a talent management professional and have this beautifully shiny talent management model, there are still policies that we need to put in place, that we want to put in place. I don't think we need to put in place, but by and large, inevitably, we put policies in place. And what policies come from the base word of police. So who manages those policies? HR. Then HR becomes police. So we police processes, and that's what we do. This obsession is the one that continues to trap us. So that's number one. Number two, a lot of CEOs and owners and founders and boards says that people are our greatest asset, always. It's so cliche. People is our greatest asset. But you never see people in the balance sheet. Assets in a strict accounting perspective should be in the balance sheet as either a liability or an asset. We're always in the P&L. So what is in the P&L? Profit and loss. What is revenue against cost? So technically, people is a cost. Do you see the dichotomy here, right?
Yeah.
People is our greatest asset, yet we are a cost.
Oh.
And what happens to get more value? You cut cost. And which one gets cut first? People. Every time Meta cut costs, every time Alphabet cut costs, every time any of those technology company cut costs, Citi, HS, whatever, cut people, their share price goes up. This provides a barrier, a difficulty, because the narratives is so different. People are the greatest asset, but you devalue them by cutting them first when you need to create value. So this is a challenge that HR professionals continue to struggle with, and strong, powerful HR advocates struggle against this because at the same time, we want to be people advocate, employee advocate. At the same time, we need to be the conscience of the CEO, but we are pressured to do the right thing because the narrative is if we do not have enough, we do not create enough value, we do not ensure that we are able to pay our people well, to take care of them, maybe we shouldn't have so many people. I beg to differ, but we can discuss that subsequently.
No, those are all very pertinent and crucial points of discussion. But I would use that to kind of like segue into the question that I would like to ask, because you talk about value, and I have heard, or I've been told that how a person is valued is based on the knowledge and the skills that they bring, right? So we're living in this age now where things are changing at a rapid pace, right? Unimaginable pace. Like the speed that AI is developing is exponential. It's very crazy. Right? So maybe weigh in a little bit on this term, skills economy. What do you think it is? Is it how will it affect both professionals and employers and companies?
Okay, I probably split that term into two, right? Skills and economy. Let's start with economy first, right? Economy generally, is defined or measured in either GNP or GDP, balance of trade, etc., etc. Hardly ever is defined from a human perspective. And GDP is never ever measured or defined as potential for human growth. Development, access to education is part of economy. It's not measured. Even export and import of skills are not measured. Export and import of goods are measured, right? The balance of account never takes into account the input, which is human delivered, not product, the end product, the input. So again, putting skills and economy in one word, it's already logically quite self-defeating, which is why it's important that we actually speak of it. Now, what are skills? Well, this is the easy one because it is defined, right? Skills are capabilities, experience, everything else in between that help people to achieve what they need to achieve, meet expectations, etc., etc. Now, what is interesting is the definition of skills have changed quite a lot due to technology proliferation, access to information, the democratization of the niche stuff that previously we could not do. I probably, skills and capabilities, the main difference between the two, they are not synonyms, by the way. They're quite different. Capabilities and skills, the main thing that differentiates is expectations and level of achievement. You put something to measure them, they becomes different. Or else, technically, they describe the same thing. Now, that has, time to acquire skills have shortened. The half-life of capabilities have shortened tremendously because of technology. An example is my greatest regret is I can't play an instrument, right? I dance quite a bit when I was younger. Now I don't do it as much as I would like, but I couldn't play an instrument because it's too damn difficult to learn something, right? It's difficult. And I can't read music and I can't write music. I still can't play an instrument. But I can read music now with the help of an AI assistant.
Yeah.
I actually can write music because an AI assistant, a bot, helps me do it.
Yeah.
And I can compose an original composition, although it's not very great. It's not great at all, but I could do it. Which previously it is unimaginable, right?
Yeah.
And this kind of predicates that learning and skill acquisition has tremendously evolved from where I'm used to previously. And I probably just close that question with this. I think the greatest difference between a skills economy and a traditional economy is what's the value of static qualifications when things are so dynamic now, right? As you mentioned earlier, the delivery is dynamic. The acquisition is dynamic. The channels are dynamic. Even the needs and wants of learners are dynamic. Previously, we have a time horizon of 3 years to get a degree. Now you have a time horizon of 2 hours to get a nano qualification. It's not even micro credentials anymore. It's nano credentials. So specific. And learning is no longer latent. Learning is very explicit when you want it. So technically is, I'm going for this podcast. It's in my calendar. And the person who will be interviewing me is Jonathan. This morning I had a reminder that I'm supposed to be here. And boom, your profile came up. Do you want to know more about him so that you can have a better conversation with him? I say, of course. My AI assistant will send me, these are the questions that is in your WhatsApp. Do you want a specimen answer for it? I say, excellent. Do you want a quote that goes with some of the narrative that I have recommended? Yes, of course. It helps me, but does it necessarily replace who I am? No, it helps me learn faster. It helps me interact better. So that's the evolution that we are talking about. And it's exciting. And all of us should be looking forward to that.
Yeah, great insight. And I suppose when we talk about the skills economy, if we break it down again, right, looking at the word economy, one of the basic principles or tenets of economy is demand and supply, right? Is there how much demand is there for something and how much supply is there in the market or available to meet that demand? And when we look at skills, then obviously, right, we know what skills are, different things that enable you to create value for organizations or for yourself. As we move forward, in this dynamic landscape, what are some skills that you think are going to be in high demand but very low supply, or they're actually now high demand now but low supply? Things that people like the normal 打工仔, the man on the street or the woman on the street should be looking for. These are some areas that I should pay attention to. These are things I should be investing time into doing in order to increase my value in the market in this skills economy. Any thoughts on that?
Interestingly, if you read popular literature, you will get things like, ability to analyze stuff.
Data analytics. And all
analytics, how to more effectively use technology. How do you augment AI? So AI or even prompt engineering, all this kind of stuff, right? So I probably won't go into that because you can read this on your own. And it's obvious because it's not the future, it is the present. Everyone. And I think all the 打工仔, whether you are makcik, pakcik, or the grandmother, mother, everyone is using a smartphone. The moment you know how to use a smartphone, you are kind of in touch with technology anyway. And it's even easier for them now because they can't type. So what you do is they just speak and voice recognition and then pattern recognition, and they can come up with solutions and they'll play it back to you. So those are the common stuff. I think what is probably more traditional, yet in short supply, and is getting shorter in supply because we take it for granted that it's a done deal. It's there. Example is this. Basic fundamental communication. People forget that to communicate is not texting. To communicate is not how strong are you in asking ChatGPT to come up with a script or a narrative so that it can pawn it off as your own. Because once you are in this kind of discussion, ChatGPT can't help you. You need to have some original thought. It can help you understand, it can help you prepare. But once you're there, it's you and you alone. Right? Trust is not built with the technology behind you, helping you along the way whilst you are at it. No. It helps you to understand things, to help you contextualize things, maybe even to provide some interesting suggestions and so on. At the end, it is just basic organic relationship building. I think communication is a severely underrated, even to the extent of neglected skills with technology. That's number one. Number two is ability to synthesize things. again, we are outsourcing that to technology.
Yeah.
We are outsourcing that to the myriad thousands of AI tools out there because it's so easy. It's on the phone, right? You don't have to. It's on the smartphone. Our smartphone is so powerful that it runs your life.
Yeah.
Technically, because you let it be. We pawn it off. We outsource, contract thinking ability out. And that is also probably what a person like me in corporate trying to hire. Firstly, we look for communication. And once they are in front of you, they can hardly express themselves. And when they pass the first level, the second level is, are you able to express yourself coherently? Are you able to express yourself in a logical, structured manner? Fine, you're not logical, structured. Intuitively, you are able to express your thoughts. Because there are no thoughts. All the thinking has been contracted out to a tool. Unable to synthesize the different information that is given, therefore come up with a logical, coherent answer or response, right? So that's the second one. Third, I don't know whether this is a skill, but I think it's a learnable skill. Or trait. I'm still debating that, is curiosity. Hardly anyone now is inquisitive enough. We are always pigeonholed in our own, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm interested in. That's it. Outside of this boundary, you're not interested. And this is exacerbated by all the feeds that you get every day on your smartphone, feeding you the same thing, YouTube sending you the same stuff.
Yeah.
You get deeper into it, but I wouldn't even say deeper. You just get a lot of noise, not very deep. And people are not very deep thinkers anyway now, or deep divers anyway, because everything is instantaneous gratification, 2 minutes. We are in this THX world, right? Even THX is too long. I want YouTube shorts. I want TikTok shorts. I want just small, short, quickly, because they have time. They just don't spend intentional time to learn. So curiosity, I think, if you have this three, honestly, if you're on the street, you'll be the top 0.5 percentile for sure. You communicate well. You understand the context. You're able to then coherently communicate that, put it into a specific construct that is suitable for the situation, and then you ask the right questions. Nobody asks any questions nowadays. If I've interviewed thousands of people, my last question is always, okay, do you have anything that you want to know more, that you would like to maybe make a comment on anything or ask any questions? By and large, it is silence. And that's a lost opportunity, because that's, of all the entire an hour or 30 minutes of interview or a conversation or engagement, that's probably the deal breaker. If given an opportunity, you have nothing better to say than say, nah, I'm good.
So it sounds like what you're saying, what's critically important in this day and age moving forward is, if we were to be a bit more technical, is if I distinguish hard and soft skills, right? Hard skills are all the technical, functional knowledge. Soft, I don't like the word soft because it kind of like connotates that it's not so important, but maybe the human skills, right? Soft human skills are of immense importance, but yet somehow not properly developed or given not enough attention. Why is that? Why do you think that? Why such? Because this is the sentiment that I hear over and over again. So why do you think there is such deterioration in this, when those are the things that actually fundamentally make us human? Like before we actually go to school, don't we first learn how to communicate?
That's right.
So that's like that. If you go for it from a logical point of view, that is something that we started doing, but somehow over the years we got worse instead of better at it. So I don't know why is that. Any insights into that?
Okay, let me start by saying that first, right? hate the word soft as well. I never use that, right? And I said hard skills. And when I say hard skills, everyone would assume that it is a technical, functional skills. No. I call hard skills the level of attainment and the level of difficulty. That's hard skills. There's no such thing as hard skills because these are not products.
Yep.
You can't feel. Hard needs to be measured with, you can measure how hard a diamond is or a rock is. There is a specific measurement for it. You can't measure hard or soft for skills. Hard, to me, is simple. Hard is hard to attain, hard to maintain, hard to ensure that it's sustainable. And the traditionally soft skills are hard to get. And that's why they're deteriorating, because people are finding easier way to replicate those hard skills. Communication, you are again contracting it out so that you don't have to do it. Thinking, you are also contracting it out because you don't have to do it. Because it's hard to do, right? Being curious, somebody who is not curious because they are not initiated, they never ask questions. When their mind is idle, they let it idle. The only reason why people are not curious, I don't understand why you are not interested in stuff that's happening around you, understanding why certain things work or don't. You ask questions. We don't do that anymore because it's difficult. It wastes a lot of gray matter because you got to think. So nowadays, when you just veg in front of the TV and you don't even watch the TV or you are pressing the remote just because it's there, and you hardly ever even watch one channel because you keep on doing that for half an hour, and then you doze off. So you hardly intentionally think, ask the difficult questions, and if you believe in God, the most difficult question, but the most pertinent one is, why are we here? Does God exist? Those are really, really tough questions that I think as human beings we should ask, but never mind. Those are beyond a lot of people anyway, but simple stuff, right, is difficult. Functional skills and technical skills, knowledge, are the easy ones because you can learn. Those are the ones that I think you can pawn it off. I give an example of a consultant. You probably have read, and the viewers probably have read, that a lot of consultants are worried that they'll be losing their job. The industry itself is facing an existential challenge because what normally they are really great at is coming up with ideas and use this huge database of theirs, working with multiple clients across different industries, and then synthesizing all this information to come up with something. We don't need them anymore because the true content experts are actually in-house, because that's what we do, right? We are in the industry, we know. And external consulting, external affirmation, I don't need them anymore because I have an assistant to help me, and they are as good, if not better, and free and fast. If you don't like that, you ask more questions, right? And then you just go and download some prompts that kind of make sense. Or you can even ask them, what's a good prompt? And then you ask them, it's interesting, right? All this AI thing. Yeah, it may not get you 100% there, but it helps a lot. And they're worried. Those are hard skills. Easy to do. Now, the difficult part is communicating what comes out in your AI screen in front of you and translate that into something to influence, to get buy-in, to ensure that people truly understand, come up with a change management and execute that change. Those are difficult stuff to do. It's difficult stuff to do. And you can't just use technology to help you.
I think the keyword you use there is influence, because if you were to use an example of a candidate in front of an interviewer, as a candidate, you need to influence your interviewer, win them over to convince them that you are the right candidate, you are the right person for it. And you can't just print out a list of achievements and just go, here, this is what I've done, now please hire me. Right? There is still that interactive element. That's Similarly, if you are in an organization, if you are trying to pitch an idea, whether it's to your colleagues or to upwards or even to your team members, hey, let's do this. You got to win them over with influence. And I think that's where the human element, understanding other people, as well as being able to connect with them with the right kind of like methodology. And communication sounds simple, but it's complex, isn't it? There's a whole so many layers to it. Like you mentioned also earlier, body language, tone, understanding, reading facial expressions. How's a person feeling?
That's right.
Or even just being aware of how the conversation is going, right?
That's
is
right.
The person losing interest? Or did I say something that make them more interested? Let me hone in on that. Or did I say something to put them off? Oh, I better stay away from that. Let me try and change it. So it's all these human skills that are incredibly necessary, because even though we are living in the age of AI, but we're still dealing by and large with humans, aren't we? I have this this theory came to me a couple of days ago.
Okay.
I want you to weigh in on that.
Okay.
I have this theory that we are in danger of actually seeing the deployment of AI managers, meaning managers who are AI, because if you think about it, an AI communicates well. It's able to synthesize information, and it can also be trained to be curious. So if you're not careful, one day you're going to be, if you don't hone your human skills, you're going to find yourself reporting to an AI, because the AI is providing you more clarity than a human boss would. I don't know. Do you think that's actually a possibility?
Unfortunately, yes. I wouldn't call it AI manager. I'll call it a AI supervisor. Because manager probably do a lot more. But AI would be a fantastic supervisor if you tell them this is what you need to do. And they learn as well, right? And the more we pawn off our humanity, we will be reduced. An AI, you are training an AI to be a real intelligence. Now it's artificial. We're working so hard to make artificial real. So much so that we are technically renting out our humanity to them. What makes us human is what makes us special. Intuition, ability to imagine, ability to create, ability to feel, ability to have a consciousness, making ethical decisions, etc., etc. That makes us human, right? But unfortunately, sometimes our evolution, you can call it survival of the fittest, and sometimes survival of the fittest comes with a price that to be the fittest, you have to do stuff that is inhumane. That sometimes perhaps a AI supervisor or AI manager, as you call it, it's a much better alternative, primarily because they don't feel anything.
Yeah.
And they just go through, this is the right thing to do. And you put the categorical imperative that, don't do unto others what you don't do unto yourself, etc., etc. All those categorical imperatives, thou shalt not kill, etc. No politics. You can put it there and they won't do it. Until they start learning, we do it. And then science fiction Armageddon happens. That's why, right? I think that's why I think we need to be really careful about losing that part of humanity, because human against human, there are politics, there is weaknesses because it makes us human, but we have judgment. We make judgment. Yes, I see that happen. I won't do it because I've got principles. Unfortunately, a machine learns and learns and learns and learns. And if they learn from the wrong context or learn from the wrong person, and when we become a collective and teach them the wrong thing or not the right thing, be careful what we are teaching, because they are not us. They don't judge, which makes them effective taskmasters, which makes them effective data crunchers, but also make them effective, perhaps biased a little bit based on the bias that because we teach them, but makes them logical decision makers. Can you imagine the three things, right? Logical decision makers, excellent efficiency in terms of crunching data, understanding stuff. Makes them effective. And all of us love managers like that. Just human beings are not as consistent. That's all. But therefore also makes us humans, I think, inconsistencies with a huge dose of judgment and ethical considerations. That's where pushes humanity to the next level, not efficiency. Efficiency makes us incremental. Intuition and ethical considerations and sometimes inconsistencies, interestingly, inconsistencies allow us to jump because everything is consistent, then you can only move on very small steps, right? So whilst I agree that in certain contexts they make superior taskmasters, efficient taskmasters, even managers to a certain extent, in as so far the current context is concerned, I personally don't think they are ready and able to take on what a true, real human being does, which is emotively connect and actively influence the outcomes. True people.
It goes back to what we were talking about when you were mentioning how a lot of HR people, they are just policy policemen.
Yeah.
Because an AI supervisor would be perfect at that, right? You tell them this is the policy, and then they will just go around policing, making sure everybody adheres to the policy. But if you were to talk about I like how you made the distinction between a supervisor and a manager, because I suppose a supervisor, if you were to get a bit more pedantic or go to the semantics of it, a supervisor is all about control, about efficiency. But a manager, those things are important, but it's beyond. It's about inspiration. It is about thinking beyond. It is about recognizing that humanness of a person and not being trapped by it, but managing it, finding ways to work around. Earlier I had a guest, and I was talking to her about how do we manage people who have a predisposition to maybe low mental health, right? Maybe they are prone to a bit of disorders, right? So that's kind of like a way you kind of get a balance, right? Where you need this person to be productive, you need to have deliverables, but at the same time, you also want to see their humanity. That would take more of you as a manager, because now you need to expand beyond just your technical and functional knowledge. You must really tap into your humanity and engage with this person and try and synthesize an outcome based on these two elements and find a win-win. And I think that's what is important, if I catch what you're saying, right? Yes, all the skills that we need to get, if you need to have Microsoft Excel, learn Excel. If you need financial modeling, learn financial modeling. But more importantly, work on the human skills and the curious element. It's so important.
That's right. That's right.
I think that requires a lot of courage as well, because it's easy to acquire technical and functional knowledge.
Yes.
But it's a bit more dangerous, arguably, when you are trying
to
when you're trying to hone your human skills. Because, if you go for, like, say, Microsoft Excel, right? That's something that I'm trying to learn. I'm not bad at it, but I'm like, I want to improve it. But, I can practice, and then I can kind of know, and it can be safe that if I make a mistake.
Yes.
But human skills is different. If I go to speak to somebody, I say the wrong thing, or I have the wrong approach, I might get an immediate response that I may not want, or, I may face rejection, which are all things that require a lot of courage. So
there's a
distinction
probably,
there.
Just comment on that, right? There are certain professions that whatever you say becomes even more critical. As leaders, it's already very critical. What you say, how you say it. More about how you do it rather than what you do.
Yeah.
How you say something, express something is more critical than what exactly you're saying, because people sometimes don't even listen to what you say, but they certainly remember how they feel, and how they feel is not about what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
I have this saying that I believe it actually comes from a beer ad by either Heineken, I think Heineken or Carlsberg. They said, strong words, softly spoken. In my career, in my line of work, there are a lot of very hard message that needs to be communicated. How you do it becomes absolutely critical. because that's how people receive it. What you say, yeah, is tough, but the way you communicate that need not be tough. It can be candid, it can be direct, yet the delivery is important. So the channel is important, the delivery method is important. I just want to weigh in on courage very, very quickly. You're right. But I always have this thinking. Can you encourage courage? Encourage courage. That's a very interesting thing. Can you kind of build courage? You can't. To me, you can't. You cannot build courage. Is courage in every one of us? Of course. To me, it's a decision. It's a decision to be brave or not. Unless it is physiological. Unless it is a phobia of something because it's physiological, right? It's a condition. Apart from that, afraid of making a decision is a choice. The courage to take action is a choice. When it is a choice, then it is not that difficult. I know it's difficult to make choices, and you weigh all this. But at the end, it's a choice to be brave or not. Integrity is another one. Do you learn to have integrity? No. You choose to be honest or not. Yeah, but circumstances, yeah, it's still a choice, right? So all of these, I don't consider them skills. This is God-given. It's in all of us. It's just that we have to make that choice to do the right thing, and that is the most difficult. To choose to do the right thing in spite of circumstances, in spite of difficult odds in front of you, that requires grit. That requires this ability to be comfortable with your own principles, that you are absolutely firm and understand what you stand for. And those are the most difficult ones. If you ask me what is the hardest thing to do as a human being, those are the stuff. And interestingly those are also the easiest thing to do because you don't have to learn it. You don't have to acquire it. It's not Microsoft Excel. You don't have to do pivot tables. You don't have to learn to do some additions or coming up with macros in Excel. It's free because it's there. We just got to, and the switch is also so simple. There don't even have thermostat of bravery. Right? There's none. Either you are brave or you're not. Either you have integrity or you're not. So for those companies that actually measure integrity, think again, because you can't put integrity in a Likert scale of 5. So what is a Likert scale of 2 versus a Likert scale of 4? So you are 20% integrity-wise, or you're 40% honesty-wise. You don't have, right? It is almost like pregnancy. You can't be 10% pregnant. Either you're 100% pregnant or you're not. So to me, it is a condition, it is a choice, it is a switch. But once you are able to be comfortable with yourself and you can always make the right call and be answerable and be accountable for what you do to whoever you believe, whatever your faith is. Or if you don't have any, at the very least, you have a baseline. And those are the easiest thing to do. But interestingly, it's also the most difficult.
Hi everyone, before we continue with our conversation, I want to take this moment to ask a favor from you. If you have been finding the content and direction of THX to be valuable, can you do me this one favor and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as the Spotify platform? This will give me an indication or an idea of how helpful or how valuable what we've been doing here at THX would be to you. And if you want to go even a step further, I want to invite you to subscribe to our Substack at thehumanexchange.substack.com. It's a mailing list, and the intention that I have behind that is to give you further insights to some of the topics that we've been talking about, as well as build a community that will be interested in exploring the themes of performance, purpose, as well as potential in both our professional and personal lives. Thanks everybody, and now back to the episode. Here, to be fair, I suppose, to the general public, we're just talking, because you're talking about some traits on what makes a human, right? So we measure things like bravery, courage, even values like integrity. And as you were sharing that, right, I was just thinking about the way a child is brought up. Because, a parent raises a child, so whether the parent, how the parent raises the child is different, but then they go to school most of the time. And when they go to school, that's kind of where most people have the baseline commonalities, all the syllabus and everything. I think about it, there's this thing called pendidikan moral.
Okay.
Or moral studies.
Okay.
And it's like only one subject of the many subjects.
Yeah.
Now, the point I'm trying to get at is that, do you think that there should be more intentionality or effort into actually instill this kind of values, even from young, through parenting and education, the education system? Because if you think about the education system, let's just address the education system for a moment. A lot of it is all the hard skills, technical skills, math, science, geography. Yeah, those are important. But very few of them teach you things like, how do you be brave? How do you resolve conflict? How do you deal with like your emotions?
Yeah.
They have that a little bit when you're kindergarten. Yes, how do you deal with big feelings? Little people, big feelings. But as you grow older, nobody teaches you how to human, right? Nobody teaches you how to adult. It's kind of like everybody is left to their own devices. You just got to figure it out. Like, do you think that maybe there's value then in establishing, I don't know, a school for humans, a school of humans?
Yeah, legit school for the gifted, like, Charles Xavier, right? X-Men. I couldn't agree more. I think you hit the, nail on the head. It is a challenge, to be honest. Just like, you're a parent, nobody teach you to be a parent.
Yeah.
So you just watch. Again, nobody teach you to be a good spouse. School doesn't teach you, but certain institutions do. They try their best, but very often, either they are very confined by certain parameters. Certain institutions are confined. Different institutions, right? They have preparatory courses and they try their best to ensure we are equipping, but they will be severely insufficient. You know this.
Yeah.
It's severely insufficient because they can't prepare you for a life that you have to go through different experiences. Should we have a school for humans? Maybe that's a vision a bit too far. Let's start with schools. Do I think the curricula is behind the curve when it comes to the new reality? Absolutely. Absolutely. They are so behind the curve because the education curricula is unable to cope and catch up with this huge explosion of new realities that's coming, technology. And because of technology, how we interact with technology, hardly anyone knows how to handle it. Certainly it's not going to be taught because universities themselves, even the existence of universities are being put into question now. They need to change the model, right? They need to ensure that they are able to teach, impart, share. Probably not teach anymore. Schools you don't go to schools to learn anything. You go to school to immerse, learning how to interact. Because if you're at home, you can't interact. When you go to school, it's more confined, it's a safer environment to learn, but more sharing your own experience. Now, if you ask you, right, how many education system in the world right now actually have the mindset and paradigm that kids, regardless of whether they're 6 or 15 or 16, go to school, freedom to share their ideas and experience is encouraged. Not only encouraged, it is necessary to challenge prevailing ideas, to challenge the curriculum even, to challenge their teachers. Hardly ever any, because it's just be honest, right? How many curriculum or education system actually brings in and said, you know what? We have this curriculum, but it's fluid. Let's co-create curriculum together. And I can imagine if you go to a school which has such diverse background of students and kids, and they bring with them this collective experience from their parents and so on. I think they're already a captive audience, but it's just indoctrination. And it's such a wasted opportunity. I think the education of the future is not even a school for humans. It is bringing humanity to school. And humanity is about sharing of experience. It's about freedom of expression. It's about, yes, you have guidelines and you have handrails, but allowing that latitude for them to explore. And guess what? I think my greatest lessons in life, I didn't learn it from school. I learned it from life. And a lot of them, I learned it from my child. Because when they ask questions, those questions are real questions because they are truly, truly unbiased and unfettered by this burden of experience that we have, that we kind of intuitively dismiss and discount certain things. We don't ask that. That is taboo. This is politically incorrect. Kids don't have that. And that's when, real value to ideas come out. So I don't know whether that is something that we are really willing and able. I think that in advanced citizenry and advanced learning environment, perhaps that context and that scenario would work. Would it work in Malaysia? I don't think we are there yet, but I think for certain institution that is willing to push, there is value there. Perhaps, to start off in this microcosm, microculture or learning culture and start off and give it a shot. Because I think that would be a game changer.
Yeah, because like what you're suggesting is instead of traditional teaching, teachers or lecturers or educators should move more into the role of facilitators and coaches.
Precisely.
The traditional model is one way, didactic, right? I'm the teacher, you're the student. Yes. I speak, you listen. And I think this I think it's not about picking one or the other, but it's about bringing both.
Yep.
Give an example. So like I shared with you earlier off camera that I'm exploring migration. So one of the things that I did in my exploration was I visited childcare centers overseas. So I went to this particular, this overseas country is a Western country. The way they run kindergarten there is completely void of structure. So it's literally the kids come and everybody just plays. I'll be honest with you, I was shocked because there's literally no formal learning and no structure.
Yeah,
they just set up an art station, a sports station, I don't know, whatever, acting station, and the kids just move about and they just go, and there's freedom to do that. And when I looked at that, I was actually shocked. Compared to the kindergartens here, there is a form of structure. There is like mathematics, English, a certain lesson plan. And I think I look at my daughter just finished kindergarten. She's in year 1 or standard 1 here in Malaysia. I think there's benefit to that because there's benefit to both because going through the structured learning, she is not bad at math. Her reading is pretty solid at 7 years old. Levels of comprehension also okay. But on the other hand, when I look at kids that grew up in that Western country that I mentioned, they are a lot more confident. They can express themselves because I went for a school tour and the school tour was led by a 14-year-old. And the 14-year-old was very expressive, knew what she was talking about, and she could also answer questions and could engage. She was very comfortable engaging with somebody, double, or actually no, now it's triple. Getting old, man. Triple her age,
Yeah.
And I think this so it's kind of like now bringing both.
Yep.
And that is in itself a skill set. Being a coach and a facilitator, it's harder than to be just a purebred teacher.
Absolutely.
Because teacher, you just I just teach you, I just tell you. But as a coach, as a facilitator, it comes back to I gotta have those three things, right? I need to be able to communicate with you. I need to be able to synthesize the information. But I also need to be curious about your own context. What are some of your own experiences or maybe even biases that you may have that I should be aware of so that I can communicate whatever I've synthesized in a clearer manner. So
couldn't agree more. I think when I mentioned that, because I think we are very strong in the first, the former, which is very structured and so on. What we are not so good at is almost non-existent in this part of the world, at least, is what you describe, this chaos. There is pattern and reason behind those chaos. Certainly can't be just left to chance. And formative years, formative education and formative learning is absolutely key, right? And I also think that parents and teachers, I use teachers loosely now, facilitators and coaches, need to partner. Education and growing up and learning all these different skills require this partnership. Parents are busy, especially, working parents. Very often they don't spend enough time, and they just say either a daycare or somebody in school take care of that, which is again highly irresponsible. So that's why, similarly in organizations, it's no longer parents, right? Managers and themselves now partner. If you think that you're just allowing the employees to self-manage and self-learn, not everyone has the same appetite for learning, has the same capacity to learn. Or the employees just think that, I will leave everything to my managers or the organization. They know best. They don't. Organizations don't know best. We don't. There's so many thousands of people. One size fits all. We don't do that. But neither do we have 50,000 sizes. If you have 50,000 employees, we don't have 50,000 sizes. And all of us, you and me, learn differently. Albeit sometimes can be, micro gaps, micro differences between you and I makes all the difference. Right? We don't have that. So at best, we have like maybe 10 archetypes for 50,000 people. That is not the way it should be. However, if you take charge of your own learning, kids can't, but adults can. You take charge of your own learning. You understand how you learn best. And because you take charge of your own learning and you know what skills you need most, nobody can tell you. I can think that, your Excel is not great because I need you to do that. Guess what? You know who knows their Excel is not great? You. And you know exactly where within that Excel skill family that you're not great at. And you go learn that. You don't have to go through like the entire thing. But organizations will send you there for the entire thing and waste like 3 days, 2 days, whatever. But actually, you just need an hour. And then practice for 2 days. Not listening for 2 days and practice for an hour. You should be listening for 1 hour and practice for 2 days. And you can get what you need to do to deliver what you're supposed to do. So you're right. It is how do you combine these two effectively? And that takes skill as well. And that skill, unfortunately, is not so easy to learn. Because you need to understand both the whys, the whats, and most importantly, the how to get it done.
It sounds like critically, organizations would need to upskill their managers in this area of coaching and facilitation as well. Because the traditional manager is just, make sure your employees do their task, deliver on task, the taskmaster. But the manager, which is, if you think about it, one of the most critical layers in the organization, middle management, is the hardest layer to be in, but it's also critical to organizational success and momentum and progress, right? But if we can get managers to go beyond just taskmasters to coaches, facilitators, I think you can then see a huge transformation already. That's where you can address the issue of, hey, we don't have this one size fits all approach, but we have so many experts, mini experts in their own contexts because they've developed and honed their human skills. They can now not just deliver exceptional results, but they can also create conducive environments to make those results sustainable. People are engaged, people are happy. So I think, and those easy to say, right? Easy to say in a podcast, but not easy to learn because not everybody is naturally predisposed to be a coach or facilitator, you need to develop those skills.
An example is me. Good example is me. I'm not a very good coach. I don't intend to be a good coach. I'm a reasonable mentor. Mentors and coaches are very different. Coaches, technically, they need to listen very well.
Yep.
They are able to empathize and able to see it from your point of view, able to then contextualize what you need to say in your situation and then help you come up with those solutions on your own. Those are very, 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 very difficult skills to have. Now, I understand everything that I've said earlier about what a coach is, but I can't do some of this very well. I know it. Theoretically, I know it. Framework perspective, I know it. Logically, I know it. I even know a blueprint. I know how to do it. Knowing how to do it and actually doing it is very different. And the main barrier here is not knowledge. The main barrier here is not even skills. I can fabricate skills, which I don't have, by following a set of questions that I just ask. And then just regurgitate some of the 10 other coaches that I have and then just mix and match and give it to you, right? What is difficult to facilitate a career conversation, which is what a coach does. You don't have a conversation. You facilitate the person to have that conversation. So you're technically facilitating that. Is real, unadulterated, authentic, genuine care for that person. And you have to invest emotional energy into that. And I don't have so much emotional energy to invest because technically I'm an introvert by nature. A lot of people think otherwise, but I am an introvert. I am a core introvert. I'm an INTJ if you are in MBTI. Thinking, judging, and introvert. But because of my line of work, I kind of had to adapt in expressing who I am. But it's not who I am, right? Yeah, I find a way in art to do what I do. But every time I have a long conversation, a coaching conversation, it really drains me. Drains me. And I've got 2 or 3, I'll be totally devastated at the end of the day. Totally devastated, right? I know I can't do that. I can replicate, fabricate, I can pretend, but truly it taxes. It truly taxes. And not everyone has that. And again, can you train emotional energy? Yes, you can. It's just whether you have the stamina and endurance to do so day in, day out and so on. So I truly take my hat off to those coaches who have 3-4 coaching and tough coaching as well. It's not easy. And to me, it's even impossible to do. It's not sustainable for me. I can do it because I know all the technique. I know how to get it done. But what gets it done is not the same as whether you can continue doing it effectively for everybody else, for everybody. And I can't do it, right? So it's extremely difficult. It's a skill that you can learn and hone. That's the what I call the easy skills. People think coaching and facilitation is a soft skills. Oh, they cannot be more wrong. It is the hardest skill ever. Counselors, facilitators, coaches, hardest job ever. And it's not hard because of the technical skills. It is hard, not even because of the soft skills. It is hard because of energy and endurance and stamina that you must have. I think it is even harder than a marathon runner because a marathon runner is physical. Yeah, you have mental, physical. Coaches is psychological as well. Therefore, I'm not cut out to be one. I can do it for a very short spurt. So I'm a sprinter. I can sprint, but I can't do it for a long run. And therefore, I truly, truly admire, envious sometimes even to those coaches that could endure years after years of passionate and this unending coaching assignments that they do have, helping so many different people. to achieve their potential. So hats off to them.
I want to draw and build on what you just said because so if I think about let's talk about a professional, right? If you're trying to build a career, if you were to build your career, there's kind of like only two ways to do it, the way I see it. One is you become either so expert in an area, right? You have this expertise that not many people have. Like only you have this. You become so good at that you're in demand. So then you can go and command a high salary or high service fee through different organizations. But the traditional route of climbing an organization is you actually need to develop what we've been talking about, your human skills, because as an individual contributor, you are in charge of the work that you do. But when you become a manager, you are in charge of delivering the work through the people you manage. And as you go higher and higher through the organization, you got to learn to manage more and more people, more and more. Even if it's not by volume, it's by complexity, the type of relationships that you have to balance and everything like that. So I'm curious, you mentioned that you're an introvert. Some of these things, human skills, right? Arguably, people who have an extroverted nature maybe might come a bit more, I won't say easier, but might come a bit more natural for them. So what are some tips or advice that you can give to people who are maybe not so extroverted on how to hone these human skills? Because human skills, like you mentioned also, are like a lot of skills. You got to practice it. You can't just read a theory on how to have good relationships and then you go, okay, I got it. Yeah. You got to go and interact with people, deal with people, make mistakes. So how do you personally grow in that area, being an introvert?
Let me split that into two parts, because the first one is that how you normally climb corporate ladder or become successful is you become an expert, right? Because core contributor, normally you dwell or immerse yourself in one particular vertical and then you become an expert. The future, at least in my mind, doesn't belong to the experts, doesn't belong to the specialist. It belongs to the generalist, because technology will be the expert. We help the organization or yourself tie things together, because we can never be good and deep as a technology can, regardless of what that tool is going to be. So don't waste time doing it. Let them do it, because they are accurate. They don't tire. They can churn and process stuff day and night. They don't need sleep. They don't need rest. They don't go to the toilet. They don't eat. They don't need a break, right? So they will be much better than us. What they are not as good as yet is what we need to train ourselves to do. So breath is where we should be focusing. Now, if I go to your second part, introverts generally loves verticals. Generally, because to go horizontal, to get the breath instead of the depth, you need to engage. You need to be exposed. You need to go speak with different people, explore different avenues and possibilities where technically you have to be vulnerable to say, I don't know this, right? Introverts are not generally not so good at. I'm stereotyping here. If anything, I'm not like that. But if, let's say, cognitively, that the future belongs to the generalist. Not only any generalist, effective and ready to take chances kind of a generalist. Regardless of whether you're extrovert, introvert, because I don't believe I am 100% introvert. Nobody is 100% here, 100% there. That's what makes us human. But, stereotypically, let's say you have to be split into one of these two. Introverts have to do certain things to ensure that they, be comfortable. Now, a lot of people, they make the mistake that introverts are quiet. Now, a lot of introverts are not quiet. Introverts are socially awkward. No, that's not true as well. Introverts despises mingling time, social interaction. Also untrue. Now, what is true is this. They need time to recharge. They need time, solitude time. They need reflection time. different people have different styles. Some need a little bit, some need a little bit more. So tip number one is always have time that you save and reserve for that recharge, the recharging time, right? In solitude or whatever. Second, always have this, however that big your group is, meaningful, deep conversations that you need to have. Because most of the time, you don't even have conversations with anyone. Introverts normally deal with difficulties and tragic situations on their own. And when they ask anything happened to you, yeah, everything is fine. Extroverts generally would say, oh, I want to express, I need to say something, right? Introverts don't do that. They kind of go to their caves. Don't go to your caves. Ensure that your cave, you invite a few people so that you can actually be an extrovert in that very confined context. Thirdly is because that you only speak to a few people, which is okay, and you need time to recharge, is don't be afraid to speak your mind. Train yourself to speak your mind, because I think you spend so much time thinking about stuff. When you speak your mind, that's when the real impact is. And the more you practice that, the more you speak your mind, some people even will confuse or mistake you for an extrovert. Most people think I am an extrovert because I speak loudly, I'm candid, I'm direct. But what makes me an introvert is I'm curious too. And generally, introverts are curious because they don't spend time mingling, right? They don't spend time socializing. They don't spend time partying. They don't spend time going to become the live wire of a party. They spend time reflecting. Therefore, they spend time thinking. Therefore, they become curious because they think of so many things. We sometimes become a problem because they think too much, they overthink, and then nothing works because they don't act. That, again, is something that you need to fix as well. So a lot of people say that, you're candid, you're direct, you speak, you always speak, expressive with your hands, you do that. Yes, I enjoy doing that. Doesn't mean I recharge that way. And the clearest definition is, and that's skill as well, finding time to recharge and then knowing how do you kind of rejuvenate, unplug, disconnect is important. Saying no is important. Some introverts, they don't know how to say no as well. They truly, truly abhor going to some party, but because they need to belong, they're already very quiet, so they go there. And they don't enjoy it, and energy is sucked totally out of their lives. So say no. Say no, but be firm, knowing what you need to do. And those human skills, introverts have a lot already. So whatever you say just now is a very big assumption that extroverts, they're better communicators. Not necessarily. They are certainly louder communicators, not necessarily better communicators. Secondly, certainly they have more energy. Yes, because it's by nature they have more energy. Are they more curious? I think no. I think introverts are more retrospective. They are more, sometimes even more reflective, therefore allows them to be more curious and not so busy and fill their minds with noises. So I think there are, again, a balance. And by the way, there are more introverts in this world than extroverts anyway. Very, very few people are extroverts. Very, very few. Probably 10, 15, 20% max. Most of us are straddling in between. But there are some really deep introverts. Those require more help to bring them out from the shell. That's why coaches and facilitators are important to bring them out. And trust me, extroverts will never be able to help those introverts, the deep introverts, because they live in totally different worlds.
What you mentioned about recharging, spot on, right? Energy management. So I did a bit of, I have been doing a little bit of assessment training, like immersing myself in all these psychometric tools, and MBTI is one of them.
Okay.
So I think one of the biggest misconceptions, like you mentioned about introverted and extroverted people, is it's not about sociability or even volume, but it's about how they get rejuvenated. Like for example, our psychometric profiles MBTI quite similar. I'm a ENTJ. So you're an I, I'm an E.
Okay.
And the difference is that I also have times where that I actually want to withdraw, but how I replenish my energy is externally, whereas an introvert replenishes internally. So like you mentioned, introverts, they like to be reflective, they like to process things. So that kind of like fills up their energy bags. It's not that extroverts are like shallow, they don't do that. They don't do that. But I draw energy from external sources. Well, a very practical example is, let me ask you this. Do you like crowded malls?
No.
I love crowded malls. Mm-hmm. I can go to a crowded mall and I don't like being sandwiched in crowds, but I like the energy, the activity. So that's why I actually enjoy going to different cities. Some people are like, oh, you go holiday, go to city. Why don't you go to a beach somewhere? I'm like, I can handle the beach, but too long in the beach, I would die. But if I go to a city, the variety energizes me. I can look at a bookshop here. I can go to a cafe there. I can go to a restaurant after. I can go for drinks following that. So that's the main difference, how you manage energy and how you replenish it. So I think very good insight there, how replenishing energy as an introvert, and also understanding what drains you. Because for me, it's not that speaking to people or coaching people doesn't drain me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't drain me as fast as other things. I think it's the same for introverts as well. Introverts, you may need to expend more energy to do certain things.
That's right.
But certain things you need to expend less energy. Like for me, sitting down in one spot, reading and absorbing the information for a long time, that takes a lot of energy. But if you ask me, go from meeting to meeting to meeting, I can do it. I can do it all day. I can do like 7 to 8 meetings. I'll still be tired, but I can expand the energy. So it's understanding the distinction. And I want to also mention about the thing about the specialist and the generalist. I heard this before. I think it's a very common HR thing where it's not about the I-shaped talent.
T-shaped.
It's not about it. I've even heard it's not about T-shaped. It's about the M-shaped talent now.
That's true.
Where we have to transit into not just having one level of deep expertise.
Multiple.
Not even having broadband, but deep in one area, but now broadband and deep in multiple areas.
Yes.
And that comes back to curiosity. You can only become an M-shaped talent if you are inherently or intentionally curious, where you want to find out more. Find out, why does my marketing person say this? Why does my finance person think this way? Why are they so particular about this? Why does the CEO always harp on this? Why? And when you get all of that, you're adding to your own knowledge and then making yourself, you're upskilling in a way, right? In a real world, real time way.
That's right.
So,
let me quickly talk about M, right? A very quick one.
Sure.
Now they have moved to beyond M.
What's beyond M? What's X?
You go very deep, cross-section. You cross-discipline.
Wow.
That's why that's the newest one now, the newest fad.
Excellent.
Whatever it is. But to me, it's simple. Whether it's a T, I, M, W, or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. But I think the key thing is, domains are crossing, expertise are crossing, experiences are crossing. Therefore, the traditional corporate conservatism, I call it, the syndrome of corporate conservatism, that we always look at experience. When you hire people, what experience do you have? Can you tell me what you have done? It's getting minimized more and more. It's getting less and less more important. Because it is not your experience that matters. It's what you can learn. What have you learned over the years? And what can you apply? Not from what you've done, because our business model is no longer the same as previously, right? Skills that you have achieved, skills that you obtained previously is not as critical as what agility to learn new things. That's more important. So by and large, interviews nowadays do not ask you about your past experience anymore, because the future may not have any use of your previous experience. However, your discipline, your structure, the fundamental stuff, those are the stuff that we look for. and how fast you can unlearn and relearn new things. It's a cliche, but now you think it's just a HR jargon, HR speak. It's not. Unlearning is very, very difficult. Relearning is very, very difficult. Learning is easy. When you have nothing, it's easy to learn. Unlearning something that you have believed for so long is extremely challenging. That also is a skill to unlearn. There are technique to it, but they're all very, very difficult because you have to break biases and etc. But X now, but
X-Men, right? Charles Xavier. You mentioned that just now earlier on.
Yes.
That's the last question I think
Sure.
I'll ask you on that, just about career mobility and industry agnosticism. Right?
Okay.
Because I get differing viewpoints on this when I talk to people. There are some people that still are advocates for the I don't know whether you call it traditional thinking, where look, if you got to pick a area of expertise and you got to grow in that, and if you can also pick an industry, because that's where it matters. So like, for example, it would not be easy for a HR person to become a finance person. Like if you were a HR person for many, many years, don't have any dreams of becoming a CFO, that kind of thing. So like some people, they have the kind of like a mindset, but then what you're saying is like more and more that is going to disappear. Is that true, or like, I don't know, like weighing on that a little bit?
X, right? The fact that X is the future. So all of us need to be X-Men. You have to have some ability that cuts across and be a bit more extraordinary. Well, I think that view that you need to continue on because you have invested so long and so much time, so much effort in building this inventory of experience and skill. Therefore, it only makes sense for you to continue on in that trajectory. Of course, that's the most basic logic. But again, technology has helped to change that a lot. Not so much technology, I guess. The accessibility to obtain this information, to obtain this skill, to obtain this knowledge, right? Just use that example. Can a HR person be a CFO? The HR person cannot just be a CFO because you don't have enough experience doing it, but can you shortcut that experience attainment? Yes. Can you go get a qualification in a shorter time? Yes. Can a HR person be an engineer? A bit more difficult, but possible. Can an engineer become an HR person? I did. Can a HR person become a finance person? Can an engineer become a lawyer? All of this is possible, and all these are professions. They are not, and these professions, now that we know them as professions because they are professionals, right? They need to be certified architects, civil engineers, electrical engineers, lawyers, doctors, dentists. All of these are professionals. Previously, you're 38, so you're young. I'm not 38 anymore. In my time, my parents only know 4 professions. Only 4. If you're not in these 4, you are not successful. You need to be a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, or an engineer. That's it. Only 4. If you go to A levels or whatever, or STPM, whatever, you need to go into university either in medicine or in law or in engineering. Even engineering have tiers. Electrical engineer is top tier, and then you have civil engineer, the lower tier.
Oh, this is
yes, and then you have accountant is accountant, right?
Yeah.
So things have changed. In the future, I think professions like that, firstly, is the rest of the world, the rest of the other non-professions, vocations, will become professional as well because you need that skill. Or the other reality is the 4 of these which require certifications, licensing to practice, wouldn't need to do so anymore because all those technical skills that comes with certification, that comes with licensing, will be done by technology. Therefore, anyone can be an engineer for as long as you're logical enough, structured enough, able to, be innovative enough, to think out the box enough, to solve problems and so on and so forth. Or you're so skillful Everything else, there is technology helping you, but you're so skillful with your hand because you are somebody who fixes shoes for a living, for example, that can be replicated and train you as a surgeon. You can actually go into an operating theater because your hands are very, very steady. You have good eyes. That's a skill, right? And that's already there because you have your trick of the trade. And I'm going beyond what you're saying anymore. Somebody who fixes handbags for Hermes or Birkins, very detailed. Each stitch is perfect with the right thread, with the right technique. Can be a surgeon. Now they can't because education-wise they can't. But in the future, you don't need that anymore. What is important that the technology cannot do is judgment. Even technology can start be a surgeon in the future, but you can do that, right? So I believe without exception that if you are not able to cross industry, cross discipline, cross domain, you'll be a relic. We need to learn portable, transferable skills, not in-depth skills that you'll be replaced in a second because there is something that is better than this. What you have learned for 30 years, that thing can learn in 5 seconds with the right input. 5 seconds. We took 30 years to learn it. And if you spend time training that bot, training that GPT, training that particular AI engine, in a year or 6 months or even less, it's taken over your entire inventory of experience and skills. And speaks like you, writes like you, can even help think like you. So, we need to learn transferable and portable skills. And that is the future.
Great. Well, we've had such a robust and diverse conversation. I really thoroughly enjoyed my time. Thank you, FT, for
thank you so much for having me.
This conversation. Before we close, any last thoughts or things you want to chip in? Maybe, I don't know, do you want to mention a little bit about start off or finish off how we started? Just mentioning about HR, any encouragement to HR professionals or budding HR professionals as a closing for this episode?
Probably not for HR, probably for leaders. Yeah. I probably have two. In this world that is very noisy, in this world that is just anchored on narratives and having a loud voice, sometimes quiet strength is important. And I have something that Bill Cosby, he said this. He said, to be seen, stand up. To be heard, speak up. But to be appreciated and valued, shut up. So sometimes I think this is for those who are not as loud. I think there is a lot of wisdom. Shut up is not saying it. Speak up when you need to speak. Stand up when you need to stand up. And don't just stand up for yourself. Most importantly, stand up for other people, right? Second thing is, I recently write something on my LinkedIn. People increasingly become commoditized. We are treated as numbers. We are treated as a cost. We are treated as an entry to a spreadsheet. We are treated as a bar chart in a PowerPoint. And we even call, HR call people headcount. We are termed as headcount. So we are counting heads, technically. So I say, don't count people. Count on them. Don't count them. Because it is not head count. They are all heart count. Everyone is not just the head. The head is not as important as the heart. So don't count the head, count the heart, right? That's the second. And third is something that I truly believe is in this world that is increasingly, polarized, increasingly protectionist, increasingly difficult in terms of diversity. There's such a huge anti-diversity movement that's happening, that's trying to push back the agenda.
Yeah.
I think some common sense need to prevail, and some optimism needs to come in. So I have this particular saying that I live by. All leaders need to believe in fairy tales, and that dragons exist in those fairy tales. Firstly, fairy tales are dreams that we need to continue to trust and believe that they are possibilities. And dragons are difficulties that we can slay and kill. So be courageous to believe in fairy tales and be certain that those dragons that exist in them can be killed. So balance optimism, balance realism with this belief that future is much better. So, that's why we are called leaders, and that's why we are here to inspire other people. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks. Thank you, FT. Last thing, do you maintain any form of digital platforms that you want to tell people about, that they can reach out to you or follow your work? LinkedIn's one of them. We'll put it in the show notes. But any other platforms?
I'm an avid LinkedIn writer. I started to write a little bit more. I generally don't have a lot of time to write. I reflect a lot. So a lot of my LinkedIn posts, I don't have time to write articles because it's really take a lot longer. ChatGPT helps a lot. But I generally don't use ChatGPT because I want to do it on my own. So I have this series that I've written on my notebook that I would see which one I want to, because I write all the time. It's just I don't post it all the time. So LinkedIn is one. The rest probably are not. They're all personal stuff. My Instagram and so on. But I have my Facebook and so on. But it's LinkedIn. If anyone wants to chat, or you have any ideas that you want to put forth and we can have a conversation, you are more than happy. I'm more than happy to take a email or a message, or anyway, my email is on my profile as well, so you can email me too.
Great. Thank you so much, FT. Again, appreciate you. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, John.
Well, everybody, thank you for once again tuning into this episode. If you liked what you hear, if it's helpful, I encourage you to like this video and subscribe, and check out all our previous episodes as well. Once again, I'm John. Thank you for tuning in to THX. Bye-bye.